Welcome to the Hopenning, the place where hope is happening, with your hosts Fran Cadrone and Marina Theron-Monnery. For more information about Fran and Marina, or to apply to be a guest on the show, please go to our website www.hopenning.com. The Hopenning is for informal purposes only and is based on the research of your hosts, Fran and Marina. They, as well as their guests, are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from this podcast, which is not intended to replace any professional medical advice or care by medical professionals you are currently utilizing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hopenning, the place where hope is happening. I am Fran, and my beautiful co-host is Marina. And today it is Hopenning number 89, and we welcome a very special guest, Viktoria Kshevinshkaya. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Kshevinskaya. Anyway, she is a sound and energy healer. She is the founder of B School Space. She helps humanity remember what we came here to do. Her mission is to work with human consciousness and to help us return to the heart and create a harmonious reality full of pure love for the good of all, based on the highest and purest frequencies every one of us has a chance to attune to. She works with adults and children, and we are super blessed to have her here today. Thank you, Viktoria, for gracing the Hopenning channel with us today.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm all goosebumps. I'm like feeling you with all my being. I'm so grateful for the invitation.
I'm kind of feeling goosebumps here too.
All right,
So
let us synchronize a little bit, yeah?
Sure.
All right, so let us synchronize a little bit, and I'm inviting everyone who is here with us today, or everyone who is here with us on the unseen, or who is watching this replay later, to drop into the meditation a little bit, to close the eyes and to just relax and be in the body just a few minutes. We're not going to do it long, but I just feel it in your body so that you remember what you came here to do. Make a deep breath in, deep breath out, deep breath in, deep breath out, deep breath in, deep breath out. Breathe deeply, normally, slowly. And with every breath in and breath out, you return to your body and allow yourself to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more present in the here and now. And I am inviting the highest and purest frequencies, our highest selves, for the connection. I am inviting the reinforcement team, divine support team, guardians, angels, unicorns, dragons, phoenixes, and anyone who is here for healing. And I am shutting off and shutting down all the communication lines with other groups who are not here for the highest good of all. And I'm inviting our team to scan our bodies and to shut off and shut down and disconnect all the communication lines and machines and plugs and seals and implants, which were not seen but were acting not for the good. And I'm inviting you to come back into your heart through scanning all your body, all your energy centers, and realigning yourself with your highest self and the highest intention through love available for everyone. Set up an intention for this day, today. What is your why? Why are you here today? Put this intention into your heart and allow your heart to guide you through whatever experience you have to face, whatever communication, whatever conversations. That is your intention. Allow yourself to drop into your heart and to disconnect from your mind for a little bit, because you have nothing to control. You have nothing to think about. Your heart will allow you to speak heart to heart to those who are here to receive. I'm going to do a little bit of sound healing just for us to seal it up in our heart. Move slowly from the lower energy centers to the top. You might not hear much, but you will receive on another level. Oh. Go slowly from energy center to energy center, starting with your lower chakras, your balancing and recalibrating. Your sacred the solar plexus. Your heart. Merging the lower heart and the upper heart, allowing joy to flood. Throat. And connecting all the false activations, everything that is not supposed to be here, everything that is not for the highest good of all, and reactivating your own abilities, your own guidance. You can access your own library of Akashic records through your third eye and your own true vision, balancing all the senses for the highest good of all through love and divine connection to God, Source, Prime Creator. Coming into the crown and establishing strong connection with the divine, with your highest self, with all the multidimensional self merging as one now in this physical body, and merging the timelines and choosing the highest timeline to be possible now, here, in this present moment, honoring this body, honoring this experience, and remembering who you are and what you came here to do. Come back into the heart. . Stay in your heart for a few more seconds and seal it up, remembering that you can always be in your heart no matter what. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes and return to this physical body. You can drink some water and continue with whatever you were doing.
So, Victoria, I heard nothing, but I felt it. Like I felt right away, right in my, is that solar plexus? That part?
Under the ribs is the solar plexus,
Under the
yes.
ribs, under the ribs. Pretty interesting. You know, we think we have to hear it with our ears, but it's like you said, the vibration, the frequency, right, is where we need it. So we were talking about that before we came on with Marina. Marina's very well versed in singing bowls, and I'm not. But can you tell us a little bit about your history?
I was just gonna ask.
Yeah. So what brought you to that place where you're able to be a healer with, oh, there's just so many things that you do.
So not specifically about the sound healing, but in general, right? Okay. So how do I begin? There is so much. Okay. So I started my spiritual journey back in 2015 when I was a mom of a little child. At that point, she was 2 and she's going to turn 11 next week. So it's been a while. And then at that point, I was working as a personal assistant and traveling around the world with my business trips and had a lot going on, especially in my mind. And I was all full power in that and burnt out, tired, exhausted, all this. But I had a good life. I mean, everything was there except for light and love, which I was kind of thinking I have to find outside, which I couldn't find outside. And I had a chance of looking inside, but much later. And then at that point, I decided that I had to quit, and I put my courage together and went to my boss to speak about it. But instead of understanding the person I spoke to, he sexually abused me, and I didn't communicate about that to my husband because I felt so miserable and I felt so destroyed, and I felt that he would act upon it, and I didn't want, to and I didn't know what the circumstances would be. And moreover, at that point, as I see it now, my throat chakra was so locked. I was working as a PA, so I had to do all the orders, and the people, would be angry, annoyed, frustrated, or whatever, and I would need to shut down, not to express my own feelings, just for the sake of being in that position at that point. And I'm not saying working as a PA is a bad job or anything. It's just my experience that at that point, my throat was locked, and I didn't know about energy, anything. And I had no guidance. So I was just like completely destroyed in my self-destruction process. So at that point, when I quit, we went on I wouldn't call it a vacation. We downshifted to Asia in 2015 for about half a year. And then after that, my husband left back home, and me and my daughter, we continued our traveling, and we ended up in Bali. And at that time, I knew nothing about Bali, about culture, about anything, because I was traveling in Thailand, Cambodia, and other places. So it's not that I knew something, it's something that I felt in a calling. And when I ended up in Bali, I was guided to go to Ubud, and this is where I'm based for the last 8 years. Obviously, I was traveling a little bit. I was going to my home country, and I had other experiences, but I was mostly based here all this time. And it was not always easy, because Bali, people say, is a purification place. So you actually have to address everything that is inside. And unfortunately, inside of us, we all have lots of distortions. Somebody has fears, somebody has suppressed desires, somebody has all other things like anger and things, and we have to face it in all different types of experiences until we understand that we actually are here to heal that. And that was my journey. So in maybe 2017, I experienced Kundalini awakening, and from that moment, I started understanding that there is something bigger than this body, and the energy is much stronger than I can hold. And I was completely overwhelmed at that moment, because I was like sitting and actually just experiencing it, and for days, like not really, interested in the outside life or speaking about it, or like it was kind of like a hermit mode. But for me in general, I prefer being on my own and in my own castle and bubble. But at that point, it was extreme. And after that, I started going to different places to study. I went to study Buddhism. I went to study mind cosmology. I went to study Tantra. I went to study lots of different things. But I was kind of, again, with those teachings, I was kind of searching for things outside instead of looking for them inside. And then after a while, I experienced another stage of awakening where I was like, well, actually, I don't want to follow any rules. I don't want to be guided by anyone, because I want to experience my own. It's like when you read books, you don't write books much. But if you want to be writing, you actually have to start writing, not only read, right? But if you are reading, you're like, oh, okay, maybe one day I will write. But it's not happening if you're not taking your pen into your hands. So at that moment, I had my understanding that actually, well, I have to disconnect from everything that I learned and loved so much. I have all the gratitude for the experience I had. I worked on forgiveness. I worked on gratitude, generosity, all sorts of things. And again, this is the moment when I can actually share. But of course, you have to face some teachers, and you have to have somebody to hold your space. So at that point, I found my mentor who I'm working with now, and the community who I'm working with now. I have a teacher, Jen George. She's from Guardians of the Codes, and we are the Guardians of the Codes. We work with light language, we work with highest and purest frequencies, and the technology is working with subconscious mind. But she's not the lady who would come and give you teaching. No, not at all. She's actually the lady who would just hold your space for you to find all the answers within you. And at that moment, it clicked for me, because before that, I was already coaching people. I was like, oh, using that method or this technique or that modality, which somebody gave me. And then I was like, well, actually, they don't work that well as something that you have within you. And what you have within you is much more powerful. You don't have to have tarot cards to be able to read somebody's energy. You don't have to, and like you have your own senses, you have your own feelings, which you have to fully trust. And of course, I had all sorts of gaslighting experiences on the way for me just to be able to come back into the heart and to understand, well, actually, there is nothing I can trust except for myself. And building trust with yourself and building this connection with yourself, not only the spirit, but also the body, is a journey, because we sometimes, when we experience awakening, we go far beyond, and we don't know how to anchor it down, how to bring it into this physicality. But that's the journey, like, because we need to come back to this physicality. We need to appreciate the temple and the body and this existence, because this is why we came. And so for me, it was a whole journey. And only last, I would say, few years, I was building up hope and trust and confidence that I actually can do what I'm doing. And I won't say that I was so confident, in the beginning, not at all. I was like, oh, really? It helped you? That's good.
What an absolute amazing journey. And thank you for doing that activation in the beginning. That was beautiful. I like Fran, I felt something really in my throat. I didn't expect that. And I thought it would be in my heart, just because of the conversation we had before we started. And it ended up really almost a memory that
Mm.
and a big emotion around the memory that came out. Had to
Did
release
you
that.
did you have a chance not only to release but to alchemize it into love, just to put something into it so that you know, like when we face something, people think we need to take it away and get rid of it. That's kind of true, but also, you know, by getting rid of it, you kind of cut your own leg. You get rid of like your own experience, which was there for you. And then when we actually alchemize it with love, we can transform it into something else, because we are merging with all the multidimensional selves. And multidimensional cells are not only good ones, but also bad ones, unfortunately. And we have to love them anyway. That's like your
For
child,
sure.
you know?
Sure. Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. So we had a discussion about those singing bowls before we started. So I actually want to jump to that and tell us your experience. Teach us.
Mm. Okay, so this is my actually second, but the only sound bowl. This one in particular is the crown chakra. And just like you, Marina, I went to the shop and got the one which was singing for me. But this is the second one. So the second one is, I will tell you the story of the first one so that you understand how I got here. So at the point when I was searching and learning from people and searching for teaching, which would be speaking to my heart, and I was guided to study Buddhism, and I went to the Buddhist temple in St. Petersburg, Russia, and it's called Datsan. And in that place, I found the sound bowl much smaller, maybe like this small. And that sound bowl was not so strong, was not too special or anything. It was the first one I was really connected with. And I was like, wow, can I have it? Like I got it straight away in that place. And I mean, it was okay quality, good sound ball. It was doing the work in the beginning. It was helping me connect. I don't have any idea which chakra it was working with. It was just the frequency. But then a mystical story happened, and I wanted to focus on the mystical story. So before the mystical story, so there is one temple here in Bali, and there is the priest, they call them manku, who gives activation or hold space or helps people clean. And at that point, I was very connected with that place. And people say that there is dragon living on Mount Agung. Mount Agung is the biggest volcano in Bali. And if we look into Hindu stories, it would be Naga Bazuki. Naga Bazuki is like the snake who lives, actually in other mythologies, people say the snake who lives on Shiva's shoulders, that kind of snake. But I don't want to put labels good or bad. At that point, I was very connected with that. And this temple is called Mother Temple of Bali. So it's like the main temple of this land. And there is a priest who is working there and serving people and accepting visitors and helping them to clean, to purify, and to understand the soul mission and stuff. And when I got this sound ball, I took it there. And he showed me how to play with it, because before I thought that I play with it like this, you know, like making noise. But it's not about the sound which you make, it's about the frequency which you transmit. And at that point I didn't know about it. So he showed me how you play, like on a different level. And I learned from that. And in that temple, I also learned how to connect with that dragon, with that land. But it was my first experience about the dragons. But I'm much, much deeper into the dragons these days. And after that, at some point, I had a connection with a lady who was a sound healer. But actually, she was in a total polarity. I don't know what their galactic fight is about. But she was judging that temple, she was judging that experience or whatever, like, you know, like spiritual fights, something like spiritual ego, something. And when I was in her space, that sound ball cracked. That sound ball got somehow damaged, that it was no longer playing any sound. I was confused, like, you know, you hold your sound ball and it's not playing any sound. You're like, oh, and then I looked and I saw the crack and I was so shocked because it's not something that I, you know, would experience. I went to the temple and I was asking the man, the priest, and he was like, whoa, this is the first time I ever see that. But I understand that there was something on the unseen happening. At that point, I didn't have awareness to see. And after that, I went to a shop, like after some time, to get a new sound ball and to learn my own way outside of any teaching or judgment, because it's not about, like, I don't want to be involved in any polarity, in any war, in any galactic war or anything, but to be able to stay strong in your frequency, in your dignity, in your understanding, you have to be actually strong, because there is, you know, luring from all sides. Like, people want you to join them, people want you to be there and here. But we're coming to the question of frequency and the highest and purest frequencies. I didn't know about that until a little bit more, like a few years back, when I was told about it. And actually it was so, like, such a big resonance with me. Oh, actually, yes, we can connect with the highest and purest frequencies. We can make a choice. Why don't we do that? I don't know. But actually, we can do that in every single step we are walking our path, not only in meditation or, you know, sound healing, but like, okay, you're having a tough conversation, you can remember to remind yourself, highest and purest frequencies, please, only. And the conversation is getting smooth. Or you are writing your blog post or article or recording whatever, and the energy goes easier if you're using the highest and purest frequencies. But actually, you know, if you don't anchor down anything, whatever is using your energy, whatever is interfering, and whatever is, you know, plugging in, so that, you know. And that's why in the beginning, when we were doing this, like, as you call, activation meditation or whatever it is, synchronization, I was calling upon the highest and purest frequencies. And I also invited our guides to disconnect and shut off and shut down and disconnect all the machines. We don't want that. We want to be in our channel. And you don't have to have any channel activations, anything, because you already have everything within. And as soon as you connect to the highest self, you already have all activated. You just need to learn how to trust. But that's a process of experimenting with everything that you feel and see, and trusting that. And also a playground. It's like, oh, I can actually do that. I can actually do this. And then you understand, like, okay, my hands, they can do so much. If I trust, they can play the musical instruments. They can heal people online, offline, by touch, by, like, can heal animals, can remove things. And then you learn, well, actually, you don't have to have these tools like crunches, but you can create your own tools. And it's like, I don't use any cards, metaphorical cards, tarot cards these days, but I was using before, and I would read energies and stuff. But these days I create my own light codes and light language transmission, because it's actually all about your intention. Whatever you do, you set up an intention, and then through this intention, the highest and purest frequencies and your team and your highest self actually guide you, for you to be able to do it the highest good for all. But here's the important thing. Is it for all or just for you? And when you say, I want it for the highest good of all, you can trust your heart. You don't have to think about how you do that. You just do it. And that's already the best.
That's beautiful. Like, today I did 2 of your meditations, right? Because on your website, you give free things, right? So I did 2 of them, and the one I did twice. The bowl one, the singing bowl, I did twice, because I wanted to see if it would change, if something would be different. Because during the meditation, you talk about scanning yourself, and then I forget how you put it, but scanning yourself. And for me, it was, where is the energy stuck? And like Marina, first time around, it was in the throat. It was stuck in the throat. But I was listening to the bowl, I was listening to you talking, and I had a memory. Like, it wasn't even a memory. It was more of a This is what you need to do. It was not a command, but it was like, if you want to get here, this is what you need to do before you can get here. And I remember one of the shows that Marina and I had, we talked about the lotus flower. Marina, do you remember that? Right
I
after we
do.
came back from
Yes.
India.
Yeah.
And in this, when I'm listening to Viktoria, like this afternoon, I had a vision of the lotus flower and how, in order to have this relationship bloom and be, just a super positive, fulfilling everything, I needed to let go of the hurt. I needed to let go of what had happened in the past that I have been refusing to let go of. And it was like my feet were in the mud. I was stuck in the mud and I needed to get rid of that before I could move on to healing myself from hurts in that relationship. So it was quite interesting. Like, and it was in the throat. Like, and I don't know why that would be in the throat, but that's what I got.
Yeah, maybe like suppressed emotions, like something that you didn't say, something that you kind of like get like, oh, I should keep it for myself, like didn't communicate. But it's the thing, like we didn't know how to communicate things in a safe way. We were scared of being judged, of hurting people, of being too emotional and all this kind of things. But when we merge all the energy centers and we make sure we stay in the heart, we're able to communicate heart to heart, and we're able to speak beyond the form. So what hurts people is actually the form, right? So the mother says, put on the hat, it's cold. But you get hurt because the mom is controlling. But it's not about the control. It's about she's worrying that you will get cold, right? So it's the form that we are attached or triggered by. And the same, it's like a basic example, but the same is in relationship. We are triggered by the form, the words people use, the way they communicate, or the way they speak or don't speak. But actually, what is beyond that? Is that love or is that not? Is that something that can be healed or forgiven, or is that not? So it's a choice again to see beyond, right? And speaking about what you just shared about past trauma in the relationship, and like something that we like, grudges that we keep in our system. I recently had an experience just a few days back. I have a friend who lives in Estonia. She runs a clinic healing with bees and with what's called leeches, and like naturopathic healing for people. And people come to her with lots of different symptoms, lots of different diseases, and then she posts on social media. The lady came with cystitis, like it's really strong pain from cystitis. I look at the story and I'm like, immediately I receive a message like, okay, she needs to look into the grudges she's keeping in her system for the man, for her relationship, or maybe even for her relationship with her father. I messaged the lady and she's like, oh yes, that's exactly what is happening. I mean, yes, of course we want to get rid of the symptoms. Sometimes it's important for us, like it's painful, it's hard, and then actually we always want to go deeper, like what is that? And that something that we have, like something that we can't let go of, or something we can't forgive, it actually gets stuck in the body. And that's why I always say the coherence of the, like I call it womb, heart, mind, but it's, metaphorical womb, not only for women, but for all of us, for us to remember the womb we're coming from, like the creation. And the coherence between the body and the spirit is important, because we can't be just the spirit. We have to be in the body. And all those like little things, we don't remember them. If you consciously, like if I ask you, do you remember what you're angry with? What is your attitude to that and that? You won't remember. But when we do somatic things like somatic shaking or like movement or body work or something, we can go into the body and actually release that. And sometimes the emotion comes or memory comes, but it doesn't need to be that way. We don't have to remember, we can just release. And this is the same method I was using. I posted yesterday inner work around money block release. That was also like, I was looking into like, okay, I'm experiencing this situation, I want to expand that. There is something blocking the thing. What is that? Is that like in physicality everything is done perfectly, but there is something else. So like how I do that, I went into, again, somatic movement, like in the body, and then looking into my story, like journaling, rewrite, like, okay, I investigate, I find it, and I find that traumatic story which I shared in the beginning, and from that story I made up an imprint into my subconscious mind that rich people are bad, and that imprint into my subconscious mind actually was blocking my way, right? So the important thing here, you notice probably I said is, oh no, cancel, clear, delete, was, because I don't choose it anymore. So we need to learn how to see how we speak about ourselves, right? So because that's how we create the reality. And now after I made this rewriting, the manifestation, the gratitude, and rewrite and the release of the emotion, now I'm consciously watching how I think, how I speak, and how I behave, because I actually want to change. And the change we can only create ourselves by attuning to a different frequency, by attuning to a different attitude, and by acting differently.
That's quite amazing. So I'm just looking at your website here, and I love that you have this call to help people remember where they come from, to return to their heart. The phrase you use is to return to the heart, and to create that harmonious reality of pure love. And so, how does clients find you? What do they come to you for?
That's a good question, because there are many things, right? I probably need to be more specific. Yeah, well, I'm mostly working, I think clients usually reflect what we are experiencing, and you can't help people with what you are not aware, right? So my sacred sexuality portal is one of the biggest things, because I mostly work with women with trauma, with those like physically and online, with those who experience sexual abuse, like all sorts of traumatic experiences, all sorts of other types of abuse and things like that. And for people, like, everyone has trauma, but it depends on how big it was, like on the scale of 1 to that 1,000. And I also so spread sometime at some point I had the feeling like, oh, some people come back, but some people are not really coming back to my service. And I was like, well, why is that so? But then I realized, like, people come for healing, they heal, that's a good thing, they're not coming back. So yeah, and for me it's like I usually go into some groups like Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups, and I see what people are inquiring about, and I share my gifts and magic with them so that they can understand what can be done. It's like, okay, they experience an anxiety, or they're experiencing too many thirsts, or block about this or about that. So I'm just guiding, and I'm very passionate about creating new things. So I'm experiencing something, I'm publishing it, I'm releasing it, and people resonate because they also experience the same things, and some people are just following, and it's not like, you will not be interested in something that doesn't touch your heart, right? So if your relationship is good and I tell you about problems, how to heal the relationship, you wouldn't be interested in going there. Although chances are all of us have some sort of issues, but we don't look deeper, and we choose to look deeper only when we have the problem, right? And the thing is that meditation is something that I always make available for people, because I feel that it's the initial point. So back in, what was it, I think 2017, but I did it 2017, 2019 twice. Fran, you were asking about Vipassana training. That's a 10-day silent retreat where you meditate 9 hours a day. It doesn't have to be that intense for everyone. I mean, it's not for everyone. That's too much, because if you go into that, a lot of things can come up to the surface, which you need to address. And I was recently working with a client who just recently completed the Vipassana and then was trying to come back into the society. And it was absolutely impossible because he had all sorts of judgment for consumeristic attitudes and all sorts of things. But the thing is that, okay, you awaken, you understand, but how do you actually make a good use of merging the realities, make a good, like, it's not, you don't have to judge anyone. You have to be a good example of transmitting a different energy, transmitting the love and the highest and purest frequencies for the good of all. And that's how you change the reality. It's not that you go and fight with everyone. Yes, you can have a sword, but you have this sword not to fight. You have this sword to harmonize. And that's how we change. We speak our truth. We harmonize. We change the way we speak to our loved ones, the way we speak to our children, the way we, address the questions, and we share about it. And people see, okay, I can also change. I can also feel with my heart when I'm in conflict. I can also share my true attitude when I'm in a challenge. And that's how, yeah. And for some time, I was also working with children. I don't work with children much these days because my child is bigger. But I was mostly focused on primary school and kindergarten kids when she was little. So I have all sorts of curriculum created for her. But at this moment is also work in progress. We are modifying it so that people can actually purchase it and just use it. So yeah, that's also a thing. And for that, some people recommend me, some people come from friends, and I think I should use better strategies probably. But when I was running online, so I started with online English school in 2000. That was the beginning, 2015, and then I think 2019, 2020, it was modified to B-School space because the language school was called Boost Your English, BE, Boost Your English. And then I received the guidance that I have to squeeze it into B, like be yourself. And I received the guidance, I think, in 2019 before COVID. But because I was in so much demand during COVID, people were, turning to online education, I couldn't implement the change. And when I started implementing the change, started working with women, started working with trauma, started working with consciousness, that was a hard transition because, my school was already set up. People were coming from the hashtags, from the following, from everything. But because, to be honest, during COVID, I lost my best friend, and I was kind of like not in the condition I wanted to be, an Instagram monkey showing up in lives and things like that. I wanted to have time for my own process. And at that point, I realized like, oh, well, what I do, I'm no longer passionate about. And it took me years to actually fight that voice, like, okay, now redirect, now we go in a different direction, now you can speak your truth. I was very scared. I was very scared, like, what will they think? What people will, like all this like judgment and things, because it's a big change. Like you're teaching languages and now you're teaching consciousness and you're teaching meditation and things. Like it's a big change. But then I realized like I'm always doing the same thing. Like even when I was teaching languages, I was like, okay, here we can be a little bit more kind. Here we can write an essay about what is loving kindness. Here we can speak about gratitude, like just tiny bits. But and it helped me to go actually, well, if I open up what I do truly and honestly without hiding beyond the scenes, behind the scenes, I can attract more people who actually truly resonate. And in the end, I can make more money for my school and for helping others because it will be more useful. And that's where the transition started. But to be honest, I was fighting a lot, like, okay, removing old blog posts, removing all the creation. Oh, I spent so much time and money on that. No, actually, the only moment is now. Even if you invested a lot of time and money in something that is no longer aligned with you, leave it behind. It's okay. You have gratitude, you have love for it. It's all right. It's just we are moving forward. And what is important is here and now. And if in the now we're not experiencing joy, harmony, bliss, or what else you name it, then why would we fight? We're not here to fight. We're here to harmonize, and it's always growing and evolving.
Oh, yeah, I love how you said that about thank it, right? Thank it and move on. And, you know, how you put the little things in, even though teaching languages was not your passion anymore, but you still were able to take what you had and put your little bits of little sparkles in, and still create a place for other people because that's what they needed at the time. And so you took your own business and moved it forwards. It's beautiful. It's quite,
Yeah.
it's exactly what we all should be doing, I guess, right?
Beautiful transformation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you speak about like putting bits and pieces, and I can connect it with the return into the heart. Like, why return? Because we all come from the heart. I mean, when the baby is born and the mother is present there, chances are her heart will be blooming with love, and she will give this at least a little bit love to that child. In the beginning, that is always a bond, that is always there. And then through the distortions of the society we live in, the child might forget and grow up into the adult according to the conditions, according to the situations, to someone else, right? But returning to the heart is actually returning to the love which he was initially given, to that inner child or small bond we had with our mothers. We always knew what is love. We don't have to have outside something for us to remember. We just remember from within, and that's how we remember. And then from whatever we do, I always say, like, you don't have to be a teacher, you don't have to be a speaker, you don't have to be, you know, very like public to be impactful. You can put your love in making food, in writing books, in creating whatever you're creating, whatever you're doing, you're sharing your love. And that's the thing, like, to maintain the frequency. I mean, like tarot cards and all these kind of things, I'm grateful that they exist, but we don't know what kind of frequency people put when they created that. We don't know what kind of things people were putting when they were writing some sort of teachings and guidance. We want to maintain our own purity and our own frequency. And that's why I implement this in my work a lot. It's like, okay, you connect with somebody for healing, for work, like we did today in the beginning. We open up a portal, but you have to remember to disconnect and to give people their energy and to maintain your own energy. And that's the important thing. Like, we take a lot from everywhere. Like, for example, now the holiday seasons, and people are posting a lot online, like, I went to the mall and I got so frustrated because all the consumeristic attitudes. Okay, but you observe, but don't absorb. Set up the shields, protect your energy, don't absorb everything. I mean, yes, it's hard for us empaths, right? We feel everything and everyone, but do we want to heal everyone? Do we have capacity for that? No.
I love that. Observe and don't absorb. I love it. That's okay. I'm gonna adopt that saying. It's wonderful. Amazing.
Please do. That comes from Jen George, guardian of the code mother. She that was the first thing that she taught me when I started working with her, and she was sharing this, like, it really changed my life. I was like, oh, I'm actually absorbing everything. I don't want that anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Viktoria. And one of the last things we do on the show is we always ask you for a bit of hope. Like, what can you tell us for people who are seeking hope right now? What advice, or what can you tell us in the last little few words of advice about hope?
What comes to mind right now, and I didn't prepare, like, I knew you would ask, but you know, if I prepare, that will be wrong. I always choose to speak from the heart.
I love
And
it.
what comes to mind right now is actually the inner child. the inner child has hope that everything will be amazing in his life. By healing the inner child and cuddling and giving love to the inner child, we create more hope for our life, because that inner child is no longer controlling your action through the projections of his trauma, but actually giving you bliss, like, oh, that inner innocent way of perceiving the reality, which we all as adults sometimes miss. And this joy, which is in the inner child, is bringing hope that the reality will change, that people will come to hearts, that people will be more loving, more kind, and appreciate each other's presence in their lives. Disconnect from the social media and phone connections all the time during meals, during, conversations, but actually be present, be given undivided presence for the communication which we all seek. We all want to go deeper into the heart-to-heart spaces, and we can create heart-to-heart spaces. We just need to learn how to start with ourselves. And this is my hope, that people will start understanding the difference between serving the self and serving the others. You are to serve the others, you are to change the world, but through yourself. You cannot go and change others if you haven't done the work yourself. You are to do it first, and then the world, as a ripple effect, will change around you.
Fantastic. That's amazing, Victoria. I love that. It makes me feel of the Gandhi quote that said, be the change you want to see in the world. And I love that. What a great, great way to end this today. How can our audience get hold of you?
My webpage is Be School. It's spelled B-E, like be yourself, beschool.space. And there they can find blog, meditation, sacred sexuality articles. And from that webpage, they can also go into Telegram channels, which have updates and recordings and things. And if they download any meditation, they will go into my newsletter, and I will be sending love letters once in a while.
Love it.
And the important thing is that, we have a lot of buzz in our life, right? Like a lot of noise. People express themselves, but sometimes don't know how. We don't want to be the noise. We want to be the change. And for us to be the change, we have to be the love. And that's what I want everyone to come to live this space today with. Not with my energy, not with your energy. Everyone stays in his own bubble and we're disconnected now, but with the love, which has always been there.
Most important thing there is love.
Thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here.
We did too. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And we will see you next time. If you like what we do, please subscribe. And thank you again. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Victoria.